Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the SumoSprings Custom Helper Springs on our 2015 Toyota 4Runner. Now the first thing we want to know is how the SumoSprings perform. Right now we've got it on stock suspension right now, no enhancement installed, and we want to check the factory ride height. That's going to be the measurement from the ground to the top inside edge of our wheel well here on the back axle, and that's going to be sitting at 36 3/4 of an inch. Now what we can do is put a load on the hitch or in the vehicle, something to basically weigh the back end down a bit, see how much it drops on that stock suspension, run it through our course, then install the SumoSprings and see how it compares, and maybe see if it brings it up to our factory ride height again. And now that the 4Runner has some weight in it, we've loaded up some very heavy boxes in the back and one in the hitch and a cargo carrier. We can get that same measurement we took before over here by the wheel well. So this new measurement from the ground to the top inside edge of the wheel well is going to be 35 3/4 of an inch. So we're getting a full inch of drop here with this weight in the back. And that's just with some weight in the back of the 4Runner and in the hitch. Imagine what that would be with something like a camper or a heavy trailer. We can imagine that sag would be a lot more, but let's see how it performs and how it feels going over our test course. And overall, the ride quality was okay. It wasn't terrible, but you could definitely tell there was weight in the back of the 4Runner. On the bumps, you can definitely feel it up and down, and the side to side felt really slow to correct. So there's not a lot of support for that body roll that we get whenever we're turning and making sharp evasive maneuvers, or even just regular long turns. Now, we're gonna go ahead and take this into the shop and get the SumoSprings installed. We'll do a bit of a time cut here, and we'll jump right to having them installed and do the same test after to see how they compare. And one installation later, we've got the same exact load in the 4Runner here, and we've got the SumoSprings installed. So let's close this up and take the same measurement that we did at the start of the video here. From the ground to the top inside edge of the wheel well, we're gonna be sitting at 36 1/4 of an inch. So we've still got about a ½ inch of drop, but compared to what we were at before with a full inch of drop, it's a lot better. And keep in mind, we don't have that much weight loaded in here. Really, all of this probably equates to less than what a passenger and their cargo would weigh, and especially in the hitch, that's a lot less than what something like a camper would be weighing on the vehicle. So if you were to be loading more here, we'd probably be seeing a bigger difference. Regardless though, we are seeing improvement even with this load. So let's take it through the test course and see how it performs. And after driving around with the SumoSprings, I can definitely say they made a difference. On the bumps course, the difference was a little bit more minor, but what I can say is that the bumps felt more sharp, more defined. So rather than hitting a bump and then feeling a bit of bounce and aftershock, it was very quick to correct. It does make the ride maybe a little bit rougher, but that's going to be true for airbags and any other suspension enhancement that's adding more there. There's just less room for movement, so it's going to be a bit more stiff. But on the side-to-side action of the course, that's where we notice a huge difference. As the 4Runner tends to roll, get a little bit of that body roll, it's a lot quicker to make contact with that SumoSpring and put some pressure on it and keep the 4Runner from rolling anymore. So you don't feel like you're swaying as side to side near as much on that portion of the test course with those in place, because you make contact and it supports you a lot more, limiting that body roll that you're going to experience. So now that we've seen how they performed, let's learn a little bit more about the springs themselves. Now these are going to use a progressive spring rate. What that means is the more the spring compresses, the more it's going to push back and provide support. So at 50% compression, these are rated for 1,800 pounds of support. Now that doesn't necessarily up the weight capacity of your vehicle. You still do want to abide by the weight ratings of your 4Runner, but that is what this can support. And you definitely feel it whenever we're going over the course. As we hit heavier bumps, you do feel it wanting to push back a little bit more. Now, if this isn't quite the right weight capacity for you, they do offer another kit in a separate weight capacity, so you can find the right one to match up to your trailer or your vehicle. Taking a closer look at the bracket, it's a custom fit for the 4Runner. These two holes line up with some factory holes on our bump stops that we'll remove and replace using these. All the brackets fit right up to it, and we'll see that more in the install process later, but it's nice to know that there's a no drill install, and you don't have to worry about modifying your 4Runner just to get these installed. the construction of the spring is going to be a microcellular urethane. Now what that means is it's going to resist oils, road salts, any sort of UV rays that might reach it. It's going to be really durable. And it's going to work in a wide range of temperatures, anywhere from -25 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can count on it lasting through all the seasons and holding up to different weather conditions. And in addition to that, it is going to be maintenance free. Comparing this to something like an airbag, airbags are going to have an air line that you have to run to the back of the vehicle and manually fill them with an air compressor. Or if you have the room to install an onboard air compressor, you can do that. But it's a much heavier install process, and you have to make sure the bags have a sort of maintenance pressure maintained in them at all times. With something like this, it's totally closed up and sealed, so you don't have to worry about maintaining any pressure. Once it's installed, it's good to go, and you don't have to worry about it. And with all that in mind, all we really need to know now is how exactly it installs. So let's take this into the shop and show you how we did it. Now, starting off the installation, you want to find a way to raise your vehicle up and let the suspension hang. We've got a set of lifts right here, which aren't completely necessary. It definitely makes things easier to show you, but you can just as easily accomplish this with a jack up on the hitch and some jack stands underneath the frame for safety, and make sure that the front wheels are chalked. That will allow you to lift the back end of the vehicle up enough that you can maybe get the rear wheel off. That's going to give you a ton of room to work. So on the ground, at home, that's probably going to be your easiest method. You can still sneak under here by lifting the back end and maybe getting on a creeper, but again, removing that wheel is going to be the easiest and give you the most room to look. Now, whenever you do have it up, this is what we're looking for. It's the factory bump stop. We want to get this removed. It's held in place by 2 bolts that go into some factory weld nuts. So just grab your wrench and socket and get those removed. And once one side is off, just repeat that on the other side and pull down the bump stop. We can set all of this to the side because none of it will be getting reused. Our new SumoSpring comes with its own hardware. This main bracket and the SumoSpring itself may not come together. Ours shipped already installed through that middle hole, so we're all set. We don't need to worry about it. But if yours are separate, then you do want to make sure you install that middle bolt through that mounting hole there to join the 2 pieces and torque it down to spec found in your instructions. The other thing is that the bracket is offset a little bit, and it's pretty subtle and hard to notice. I'll maybe hold it up like this. So I'm holding it by the mounting holes and flip it around. You can see that the SumoSpring itself is offset a little bit to the side here. Whenever we have this mounted up on the vehicle, we want it so that the spring is offset to the outside of the vehicle, closer to the wheel. So make sure you have the proper orientation whenever you mount it up. Then on top of our main mounting bracket with the SumoSpring, we've got a top plate. That's a bit of a spacer. That's also going to have some offset slotted holes, so just line it up with the mounting bracket. And then for your hardware, you're going to get a bolt with a flat washer. And your kit does come with Loctite, so be sure to apply that to the threads before installing it. These aren't staying on the vehicle, so we're not going to use Loctite today, but for your installation, you will want to use that. That'll just pass up through the bottom, through both of the plates and brackets, and then into those factory weld nuts we saw before. So just bring the 2 brackets up into place, grab your hardware, and just thread it in by hand on both sides to start. So then we can come back through and tighten these down, making sure to keep those slotted holes nice and even with each other. And tightening it down evenly from side to side. And once everything is attached, you can take your torque wrench and tighten this all down and torque it to the specifications found in your instructions. If you don't have access to a torque wrench, we do offer them here at etrailer, or most can be rented at local shops if you don't want to buy one. And repeat that for the rest of your hardware. And that'll do it for our look at the SumoSprings Custom Helper Springs on our 2015 Toyota 4Runner. Overall, it was a very straightforward process for the installation, just a bolt-on install right in place of where the old bump stops were, and the difference in performance is spectacular. So I do think it's going to be a great addition to the 4Runner, and you don't have to do too much to get it installed, and you don't have to worry about any maintenance with it. Thanks for watching.